Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The Labour Party's accused Boris Johnson of lying to MPs after he wrongly claimed Keir Starmer had voted against a pay rise for NHS workers in England. The party is calling on the PM to correct the record after he said Labour had voted against a 2.1% rise. The 2.1% proposal, which has since been scrapped in favour of a 1%, was approved without a vote in 2020. This is the third time in 3 weeks the Prime Minister's been accused of misleading the House, and Lewis Goodall joins us now to explain more. Lewis.
Yes, Emily, as you say, this refers to, the Prime Minister's questions today, typically vociferous affair, centred on the question, as you might expect, of NHS pay. And during the exchange, the Prime Minister referred to the document in the Act that you were just referring to, the NHS Funding Act 2020, where he said that Keir Starmer and the Labour Party had voted against it. He said, Mr. Speaker, he voted, i.e. Keir Starmer, against the document in question to crown the absurdity of the point. Fantastic riposte, apart from the fact that it wasn't true. The Labour Party, indeed, didn't even force a division on the floor of the House of Commons at the time. Now, the Prime Minister, the Labour Shadow Health spokesperson, Jonathan Ashworth, attempted to raise a point of order on the floor of the House. The Prime Minister had, rather hurriedly, it has to be said, scurried away out of the chamber at that point. But since he couldn't do it there particularly effectively, he's written this letter asking the Prime Minister to correct the record. Now, the Prime Minister so far hasn't done so. His spokesperson didn't do so when asked 20 times by political journalists this afternoon. And, of course, this is important in and of itself because, of course, in order for PMQs to function, then both sides of the chamber are supposed to correct the record if they've made a mistake. But also, it could be that the Prime Minister has broken the ministerial code because the ministerial code is very clear. I think we can see it now. It says this: it is of paramount importance that ministers give accurate and truthful information to Parliament, correcting any inadvertent error at the earliest opportunity. Ministers who knowingly mislead Parliament will be expected, as you can see there, to offer their resignation to the Prime Minister. Important as well, as you say, Emily, because this has become something of a pattern for the Prime Minister. 3 weeks on the trot now at Prime Minister's questions. He has said something which has later turned out to be wrong, or at the very best ambiguous. On February the 22nd, referring to PPE contracts, he said the contracts are there on the record for everybody to see. Later turned out last week from a High Court, courtesy of a High Court judge, that wasn't the case. The government says he was referring to other contracts. On March the 3rd, he said in response to a Labour MP that Transport for the North funding wasn't being cut. Later turned out that it was being cut. And of course this really matters as well because the Conservatives at various points over the last few weeks have made great hay from the fact that Keir Starmer said something in the House. Well, actually he said that he didn't say something that he later said. Starmer corrected the record pretty quickly. Scottish MSPs and MPs, Conservative MSPs and MPs have been also saying that Nicola Sturgeon, of course, getting a lot of controversy there, suggestion that she misled the House and broke the ministerial code. So, of course, the question is, what is good for the goose has got to be good for the gander. But, of course, who is it who is the judge, jury and executioner of the ministerial code, Emily? Well, it is the Prime Minister himself.
Lewis, thank you very much.